Order à l'ordre. The Public Emergency Commission is now in session. La commission sur l'état d'urgence est maintenant ouverte. Please be seated. Veuillez vous asseoir.
Bonjour. Good morning. Welcome. Bienvenue. Today marks the opening of the public hearings of the Public Order Commission, Public Order Emergency Commission. My name is Paul Rouleau, and I'm the commissioner appointed to conduct this inquiry. Aujourd'hui marque l'ouverture des audiences publiques de la Commission sur l'état d'urgence et je m'appelle Paul Rouleau et je suis le commissaire nommé pour mener cette enquête. Nous sommes réunis aujourd'hui sur le territoire traditionnel du peuple algonquin, Anishinabeg, dans l'immeuble abritant Bibliothèque et Archives Canada, à quelques pas de l'endroit où ont eu lieu bon nombre des événements sur lesquels porte l'enquête. Je voudrais souhaiter bienvenue à tous ceux et celles qui sont ici avec nous, ainsi que ceux et celles qui regardent les débats en ligne, parce que je comprends que c'est diffusé au moment, ainsi que ceux qui vont suivre à travers les médias. I would like to welcome everyone who's here with us in person, as well as those who are watching online, and those who will be following through media. I'm joined today by several members of the Commission staff, including Hélène Laurando, the Commission's Executive Director, as well as Shantona Chaudhry and Jeff Leon, the Commission's co-lead counsels. They and their teams have been working incredibly hard for months in preparation to start these hearings today, and I want to thank them for their excellent work. Je tiens spécialement à remercier le personnel des services publics et approvisionnement Canada, de Brookfield Solutions Global Intégré et Bibliothèque et Archives Canada pour leur collaboration à la préparation et l'aménagement des locaux qui ont été mis à la disposition de la Commission. In these opening remarks, I want to address the following: the role of public inquiries, the mandate of this commission, the challenges facing the commission, how the commission has carried out its work to date, what to expect from these hearings, the participants of the inquiry, the importance of openness and transparency, and finally, the policy phase of the commission. Le rôle des commissions d'enquête. Pour bon nombre de personnes, il s'agira de la première commission d'enquête à laquelle elles participeront et à laquelle elles assisteront ou qu'elles suivront. Par conséquent, je voudrais dire quelques mots au sujet des commissions d'enquête et de leur nature. Une commission d'enquête est un organe indépendant nommé par le gouvernement et chargé d'enquêter sur des questions d'importance publique. Les commissions sont dirigées par un ou plusieurs commissaires qui ont la responsabilité générale des travaux de la commission et l'obligation ultime de faire rapport sur l'objet de l'enquête. Les commissaires sont assistés par des avocats, du personnel de soutien, administratif et technique, et sont souvent accompagnés d'experts, de chercheurs, d'enquêteurs et d'autres spécialistes. Les commissions d'enquête sont souvent appelées enquêtes publiques du fait qu'elles cherchent à être transparentes et ouvertes. Les audiences sont normalement tenues en public et toute personne a le droit d'y assister, comme on voit aujourd'hui. Commissions of inquiry perform two important functions. They make findings of fact and they make recommendations for the future. The fact-finding role of commissions of inquiry serves an important social purpose. To borrow the words of Peter Corey, who was then a judge of the Supreme Court of Canada, and I quote, one of the primary functions of public inquiries is fact-finding. They are often convened in the wake of public shock, horror, disillusionment, or skepticism in order to uncover the truth. End of quote. Uncovering the truth is an important goal. When difficult events occur that impact the lives of Canadians, the public has a right to know what has happened. But inquiries are also forward-looking. They seek not only to understand what has occurred in the past, but also to learn from those experiences and to make recommendations for the future. A commission's recommendations may be modest or wide-ranging. They may be directed at a range of audiences, including government, public bodies, and the private sector. It's also important to understand what commissions of inquiry do not do. They do not make findings of legal liability. They do not determine whether individuals have committed crimes. While inquiries seek to uncover the truth, they are not trials. Questions of civil and criminal liability are decided by courts and not commissions. Turn now to the mandate of the commission. Like other commissions of inquiry, the Public Order Emergency Commission has been given the mandate to seek out the truth about an important event. However, unlike other commissions of inquiry, we have two mandates. One given to us by Parliament, and one given to us by Cabinet. Le mandat confié à la Commission par le Parlement se trouve à même la loi sur les mesures d'urgence. Lorsque le Parlement a adopté cette loi en 1988, il a choisi d'y inclure une règle importante. Si le gouvernement déclare l'état d'urgence, il doit également créer une enquête pour enquêter, et je cite, sur les circonstances qui ont donné lieu à la déclaration et les mesures prises pour faire face à la crise. Fin de citation. The mandate from Parliament, therefore, is one of public accountability. The public's legitimate right to know why the government proclaimed an emergency and whether the actions it took were appropriate. When Cabinet took the step of establishing this commission, as it was required to do, it set out an additional mandate. Our order in council directs the commission to examine, first, the evolution and goals of the convoy movement and border protests and their leadership, organization, and participants. Second, the impact of domestic and foreign funding, including crowdsourcing platforms. Third, the impact, role, and sources of misinformation and disinformation, including social media. Fourth, the economic and other impacts of blockades. And finally, the efforts of police and other responders prior to and after the declaration. There is, however, an important caveat to this mandate from Cabinet. The Commission is asked to examine these issues, and I quote, to the extent relevant to the circumstances of the declaration and measures taken, end of quote. In other words, although these topics have been identified as worthy of attention, it is the mandate that has been given to us by Parliament that drives the Commission's work. While this inquiry will deal with a wide range of issues, its focus will remain squarely on the decision of the federal government. Why did it declare an emergency? How did it use its powers? And were those actions appropriate? This commission exists to promote transparency, accountability, and public confidence. I hope that this inquiry and the transparency we strive to provide will bolster the public's trust in our systems of accountability. Now, the challenges facing the Commission. Discharging my mandate is not an easy task. The Commission has faced many challenges in reaching this point and will face further challenges as the inquiry proceeds. The biggest challenge has been time. This Commission of Inquiry is unique, to the best of my knowledge, or our knowledge, is in that its deadline is set by statute. Other inquiries have worked under deadlines set by Cabinet. That sort of deadline is set based on an assessment of the time needed and can and frequently is extended as circumstances require. This is not a possibility for our Commission in the absence of a change in the Emergencies Act itself. Our deadline is established by statute, as I've said. It is a short one, and it allows, by statute, for no extensions. Just how tight are the timelines? Let me try and put it in context for you. The Air India inquiry was established on May 1st, 2006. It took just over 4 years to issue its report on June 17th, 2010. The Commission on the Decline of Sockeye Salmon was established on November 5th, 2009, and its report was made 3 years later on October 31st, 2012. The inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls was established in September 2016 and issued its report almost 3 years later on June 3rd, 2019. This commission, on the other hand, was established in April and must table its report in Parliament on February 20th, trying to give myself 3 days, on February 20th, 2023. So it has only 300 days, so it's measured in days, not years, to complete its work. Ces contraintes de temps extraordinaires ne sont pas le seul défi auquel la Commission est confrontée. L'accès aux documents pertinents a également été difficile. Le gouvernement fédéral a déployé des efforts considérables pour fournir à la Commission des documents provenant d'une douzaine de ministères et d'organismes. Pourtant, le processus a été complexe. Les documents ont continué d'être fournis à la Commission jusqu'en octobre, jusqu'à aujourd'hui. On a eu plus récemment, je pense, en fin de semaine. Bon nombre de ces documents remis à la Commission sont classifiés, sous réserve de la sécurité nationale ou d'autres revendications de privilèges. La Commission a dû déployer des efforts considérables pour déterminer comment ces documents pouvaient être traités, utilisés et partagés. Elle a pu développer un processus qui assure que le public aura accès aux renseignements pertinents au travail de la Commission. En plus de ceux du gouvernement fédéral, la Commission a reçu plus de 50 000 documents de gouvernements provinciaux, des services de police, des municipalités, d'organisations non gouvernementales, de groupes industriels, d'individus et d'entités privées. Tous les documents reçus ont dû être soigneusement évalués pour en déterminer la pertinence et le privilège. Ils ont dû être analysés par les avocats de la Commission et, le cas échéant, communiqués aux parties afin qu'elles effectuent leur propre examen. The process of getting to this point has been challenging. These public hearings will no doubt present all parties with new challenges. Commission staff and parties alike have had to be flexible, innovative, and creative in their approach to their work. These hearings will need to be conducted in a manner that will allow the Commission to fulfill its mandate within the timelines that it has been given. They also need to be fair and meaningful, guided by the principles of openness, timeliness, and proportionality, I intend to ensure that they are. Now, how the Commission has carried out its work. I want to give the public a little more detail about the work that the Commission staff have done over the past 4 months to conduct their investigation and prepare for these hearings. Shortly after being appointed, I set about selecting and retaining a senior staff and retained the services of Commission counsel. I then, in consultation with counsel, guided the work of the Commission. Several investigative dossiers were identified, and each was headed by a senior Commission counsel. Additional counsel were hired in the weeks and months that followed to assist these investigations. In order to ensure that the various parallel investigations did not exist in silos, junior counsel were appointed to multiple dossiers. And all the Commission counsel would meet weekly to keep each other apprised of the status of their work and keep the network working together. Now, this requirement to pursue the investigation in a number of parallel streams explains why you'll see several different Commission counsel leading evidence in the course of the hearings. Now, counsel worked to identify, request, and obtain relevant documents that were in the possession of parties to this inquiry, as well as non-parties. In the case of the federal government, this process involved addressing the government's assertion of cabinet confidence, which resulted in the government agreeing to a significant disclosure of information otherwise covered by cabinet confidence. As I understand it, this is only the 4th time since Confederation that Federal Commission of Inquiry has been granted access to cabinet confidences. À mesure que les documents ont été obtenus et analysés, les avocats principaux ont commencé à mener des entrevues avec des témoins clés. Ces entretiens ont pris diverses formes, allant de brefs appels téléphoniques à des réunions d'une journée avec des groupes de hauts fonctionnaires. Des manifestants et des ministres ont aussi été interrogés par la Commission. Reconnaissant que le temps d'audience serait limité, le personnel de la Commission a également demandé et obtenu des rapports institutionnels de diverses entités, y compris les ministères et organismes fédéraux, de gouvernements provinciaux, d'administration municipale, de services de police et d'entités privées. Ces rapports résument les renseignements dont ces entités disposent et fournissent une description de leur participation aux événements entourant la déclaration d'état d'urgence. Ils seront, le cas échéant, déposés à l'audience dans le dossier de preuve. To ensure that key questions are addressed during these public hearings, Commission counsel have analyzed the information available to them and prepared evidence to be presented in a number of different ways. They've prepared summaries of the interviews that they conducted, and to ensure fairness, the interviewees have been given the opportunity to review these summaries and approve them as accurate. The interview summaries have been shared with the parties to ensure that they are aware of the information obtained by the Commission. In some instances, these summaries may be introduced to supplement and facilitate the oral testimony of interviewees. In other circumstances, the summaries may simply be entered into evidence where it may be unnecessary or impractical to hear from the interviewee in person. Commission counsel have also prepared a series of oversee reports. They summarize large amounts of evidence related to a particular issue. They have also worked to prepare lists of witnesses who will provide live testimony in these hearings. Enfin, les avocats ont examiné la grande quantité de documents reçus afin de déterminer lesquels étaient pertinents pour les questions dont la Commission est saisie. Ils sont en train d'être communiqués aux parties de façon continuelle. Pour ce qui est des documents reçus du gouvernement fédéral, ce processus comprenait l'évaluation des affirmations du gouvernement concernant la sécurité nationale et le privilège de l'intérêt public, et un effort visant à rendre le plus de renseignements possible accessibles au public. Tout au long de ces travaux, le personnel de la Commission a entrepris d'innombrables tâches supplémentaires allant de trouver des locaux pour les audiences de l'enquête à la rédaction de règles de procédure et prendre les démarches nécessaires afin d'assurer que le rapport final puisse être produit à temps. It is important to emphasize that the investigative work that I have just described has been that of Commission counsel. During these hearings, I will be hearing the bulk of this evidence for the first time, just like members of the public. To that end, I have made no findings and reached no conclusions about the issues that I have been entrusted to deal with. While I'm not sitting as a judge in these hearings, my 20 years of experience as a judge have informed my approach to the inquiry. I intend to take a judicial attitude to my job. By that, I mean that independence, impartiality, and fairness are my touchstones as commissioner, just as they are in my role as a judge, which I will take up again after these hearings. Like a judge, my findings and conclusions will be based on the evidence that is presented to me. I will keep an open mind throughout and will only reach a final conclusion once the evidence is all in and final submissions have been made. Now, what to expect in the hearings? We have scheduled approximately 30 days of factual hearings. At first glance, that may seem like a great deal of time. In reality, our time is very limited, given the breadth of the issues that have to be covered. This commission will need to hear from dozens of witnesses and examine thousands of documents. Our timelines are tight, and there's little room for error. For these hearings to be successful, I'm relying not only on my commission counsel, but on the efforts of all counsel appearing before me and the parties they represent. This is not a trial, it's an inquiry, and I expect everyone will work cooperatively to ensure that the facts and information necessary for the public to understand what happened and why it happened will be elicited. I appreciate the spirit of cooperation that the parties and their counsel have demonstrated thus far, and I expect it to continue. While this is not an adversarial proceeding, I recognize that different points of view will be forcefully advanced. This is to be expected and will help ensure that a clear picture of the events is presented and the decisions made or not made by key actors are fully analyzed. It is important, however, that at all times disagreement be respectful. Parties and the public should also expect me to actively control the proceedings. Deadlines and time limits will be established and enforced. Parties will be required to focus on central issues. Not every witness who might be called will be called. Relevant evidence may be adduced in writing. Objections and procedural wrangling must and will be kept to an absolute minimum. Throughout this process, I will be relying on Commission counsel to take the lead in presenting the evidence. For members of the public who have not seen a public inquiry before, the role of Commission counsel may appear a bit unusual. They do not represent a party. They are, in effect, an extension of the Commissioner. They do not advance any particular point of view, but rather they lead evidence in an impartial and balanced manner. Their only goal in these proceedings is to elicit the evidence necessary to establish the truth, whatever the evidence may be. Now, other participants, Commission counsel are not the only persons who will play a role in these hearings. There are also some 20 parties to whom I've granted permission to participate in these hearings in a variety of ways. This includes the Government of Canada, as well as provincial and municipal governments, police forces, protester representatives, community organizations, non-governmental organizations, trade associations, and individuals. Each has their own interest in the issues that will be addressed in this inquiry, and each brings their own important perspective. They too will play an important role in the process. Afin de permettre la participation des personnes et des groupes qui autrement ne seraient pas en mesure de prendre part à ces procédures, j'ai fait des recommandations à la greffière du Conseil privé pour qu'elle accorde du financement à certaines parties ayant qualité pour agir. J'ai exposé les raisons pour lesquelles j'ai formulé ces recommandations dans une série de décisions qui sont disponibles sur le site Web de la Commission. Bien que je n'ai pas le pouvoir d'accorder une aide financière, la greffière du Conseil privé a accepté mes recommandations. Outre les parties, la Commission a également bénéficié de la participation du public. Dès ma nomination, il m'a semblé évident que j'avais besoin d'obtenir les commentaires des Canadiens et Canadiennes de tous les horizons sur leur point de vue et leurs expériences relativement à tous les aspects de mon mandat. C'est pour cette raison que la Commission a mis en place une méthode en ligne accessible aux membres du public afin qu'ils nous fassent part de leur point de vue, observations et idées sur les circonstances qui ont motivé la déclaration de l'état d'urgence et les mesures prises par le gouvernement pour y répondre. We have received a number of submissions from individuals expressing a range of views, opinions, beliefs, and ideas, and we look forward to continuing to receive submissions as these hearings unfold. Commission staff will carefully review all submissions and will prepare a report on the public input received, and this will be shared with you. To the members of the public who took time and effort to share your insights with the Commission, I thank you. The inquiry has benefited from your contributions, and I will be mindful of the views expressed as I continue my work. Now, openness and transparency. The role of a public inquiry under the Emergencies Act is very much about serving the public. Maintaining public confidence in our public institutions and holding government to account can only be achieved through a process that is committed to openness and transparency. To that end, the Commission has worked hard to make these proceedings as accessible as possible. The hearings themselves are open to the public to come and observe. The media has been invited to broadcast our proceeding, and anyone around the world, in fact, is able to watch or listen to the hearings on the Commission's website. Transcripts of proceedings will be produced and made available for download. I've already said that much of the evidence in this proceeding will be adduced in writing. The Commission also intends to post all documents that are made exhibits to the Commission's website so that the media and the public will be able to read and understand all of the evidence before me. We expect that thousands of pages of material will ultimately be posted. Enfin, comme il s'agit d'une enquête nationale, nous nous engageons à veiller à ce que nos procédures soient accessibles au public dans les 2 langues officielles. Les témoins pourront témoigner en français ou en anglais et toutes les procédures seront traduites simultanément. Les documents préparés par la Commission ou en son nom sont traduits et publiés dans les 2 langues officielles sur le site Web de la Commission, Dans la mesure du possible, les versions françaises et anglaises seront diffusées simultanément. There may occasionally be limits on the Commission's ability to be fully open to the public. Much of the material reviewed by Commission counsel during their investigation is classified or subject to public interest immunity or national security privilege. As a result, there may be short portions of the hearing where classified evidence will be presented to me, which cannot be open to the public or the parties. We will strive to keep such hearings to an absolute minimum. The policy phase. I have already spoken about how this commission will not only look to the past, but also to the future. The commission's mandate includes a direction to make recommendations for potential changes to laws or practices relevant to the matters before this commission. Pour soutenir ce volet des travaux de la commission, nous avons mis en place un programme ambitieux de recherche et de politique au cours des derniers mois. Afin d'aider la commission, un conseil de recherche composé d'universitaires de partout au Canada a été mis sur pied. Présidé par la professeure Geneviève Cartier, le conseil de recherche a travaillé sans relâche pour commander des documents de recherche, informer le personnel de la commission sur des questions techniques et façonner l'orientation générale de la commission en matière de politique. Much of the Research Council's work is already available to the public for viewing. A series of 14 research papers on topics relevant to the Commission have been posted in both official languages to the Commission's website. After the factual phase of the inquiry is complete, the Commission will be holding a series of policy hearings to further explore the broader issues relevant to the Commission's mandate. This will include policy roundtables involving experts and stakeholders who will present their views to the Commission so that I may be better equipped to make recommendations about the future. Now, in conclusion, this Commission is about to begin the process of finding answers to the questions assigned to it by Parliament. What led the federal government to declare an emergency? How did it exercise the powers that it obtained? And were its actions appropriate? These are matters of fundamental importance. Ce sont aussi des questions complexes. Pour y répondre, j'aurai besoin d'entendre beaucoup d'éléments de preuve dans un court laps de temps. Ce sera un défi, mais je suis persuadé qu'avec la collaboration de toutes les parties, les audiences offriront un processus impartial et exhaustif pour la présentation des preuves nécessaires afin que la Commission puisse donner au public les réponses auxquelles il a droit. The exercise by government of the exceptional powers given to it by the Emergencies Act affects directly or indirectly all Canadians. In the 34 years since its adoption, this is the first time the Act has been used, and this is the first time opportunity for its review. How and why the powers in the Act were invoked are matters of great public interest. With the cooperation of all parties, I'm confident that the hearings will provide a fair and thorough process for the presentation of evidence required for this Commission to be able to give the public the answers to which it is entitled. So with that, I was going to say brief, but let's say modest introduction, I'd like to turn the matter over to one of my co-lead counsel, Shantona Chaudhry, to set out what the next steps are.